this song for ya.
You're listening to Deep Purple Smoke on the Podcast. I will do one episode for each song the band recorded in the studio. However, this is a fan podcast and not band endorsed. It's more of a tribute to their long history, well beyond just the hits, and my way of giving something back to a band that has given so much to me. Let's dig in! Hello and welcome to another episode of Deep Purple Smoke on the Podcast. This is Season 8, Episode 4. Today we're talking about the song Smooth Dancer. And of course, we are going to be listening to the version from the Roger Glover remix. Man, he did such a great job with these. Got a couple bonus tracks coming your way, all kinds of cool stuff. But this song is, I say I'm not a lyrics guy, but this is one of those songs that you kind of have to pay attention to the lyrics. They're pretty interesting and talks really about what was going on in the band at the time. And while I don't typically get too much into the history, it does apply to this song because this song is, at least from a lyrical standpoint, written about Ian's frustrations with the band and kind of, in my opinion, a little bit of a cry for help, a precursor to the letter that he would write stating that he would be leaving the band. Very kindly giving them, I think it was a year or 6 months or a year, I can't remember now, to clear out all the gigs that they had been contracted to do. So not just leaving anybody in a bad position, sticking with it, although I'm sure it was very uncomfortable on the road, maybe even on stage. He stuck with it. And, I admire that. Roger also turned in his notice for the band, kind of a forced hand, but also stayed through until the final gig. So very cool to both of those for not just saying, you know what, screw you guys, I don't care, I'm out, and leaving them with tour dates and, and that. And really that's cool for the fans too, because, tickets had been sold, fans had been anticipating them and wouldn't probably have known, at least not right away, that these would be the last shows that they might ever see from Mark II. So to be able to have that ticket in your hand and having heard the announcement, especially, a real great opportunity to see them before this mark of the band ended. And of course, no one knew what was going to happen after this. No one knew that they were going to write Burn or Come Taste the Band or anything that came after that. So thinking about it in terms of what was going on in this time, as a big fan of the band, it must have been pretty upsetting, I would imagine, but grateful for those people that got to see them still perform while they could. Want to point out too that it is, of course, Monday, and I want to take a moment to thank the patrons. Now, I am recording this just about a month ahead of time. So if you have subscribed since the time that I'm recording this, before this airs, I apologize for not getting you in there. But so far, we have William Rose, Corey Morissette, Nate, and Kyroon Olson. Thank you guys so much for helping support the show. That really means a lot to me. I appreciate that what I'm doing here has some value to people, and it means a lot to me that you guys are wanting to help out and give me something back a little bit. And also thanks to everyone who has shared, commented, let people know that the podcast exists. In addition, as of right now, I don't have enough ratings to show on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. So for you guys that are listening, I would appreciate if you take a minute and at least just give the show a rating, even if you don't want to take the time to review it, that's fine. If you feel it's a 5-star, awesome. If you feel it's a 4-star, that's fine too. I believe in organic commenting, organic growth, that sort of thing. And most of the way that happens, especially in a sea of choices, is mainly people just sharing and letting people know, what they like and hopefully, reaching other people that might like it. So thank you all for taking the time to do that. But a big shout outs, especially to my patrons. You guys are awesome. On to the song. So here it is, guys. Smooth Dancer by Deep Purple. Clearly directed at the Man in Black, Richie Blackmore. These lyrics are, not too shy about the situation. And, Richie was somebody that Ian had admired very much. And I think there was an element of, wanting to please him, wanting Richie to be somebody that he looked up to, but wanting to be somebody that Richie looked up to as well. And, things over time fell apart, the tour's pressure and just constantly being around each other and not having a lot of freedom, and that it's a pretty crazy time in the band. And that's really all that needs to be said about that. So much documentation. They talk about it in interviews, all kinds of stuff, but just basically to say that this is what the song is about as far as the lyrics go. Musically, man, they just jump right into this. There's no setting the tone for the song, really. As soon as you kind of understand what's even happening, the lyrics are already starting. So a short opening for them for even some of their short openings. But it sounds really good. Again, there's just that sound that it feels like it's right on the edge of clipping. And I feel like that compressor's pushing it down a little bit. And I'm talking about mostly when we get guitar, bass, and organ at the same time. This is similar to the Speed King riff, where it's kind of just like a couple of notes and some space in between for the vocals to come through, which is really cool. I love that style of writing. I think when you have a vocalist, the story is typically the focal point of the song, at least during the passages where there are vocals. So to carve out some room for that, instead of having to squash the music back with a compressor or anything, I think that's really good songwriting. But Ian's on fire. Ian Gillan's on fire on this one. The music just sounds huge, absolutely huge. And I love the simplicity of it at this point. So it's interesting. I think we're actually getting two guitar lines here, because I hear, the main riff, and then I hear just that a nice, just little rhythmic ticking, kind of like the opening to Highway Star, but without the double picking. And it really does sound like Richie's playing on the main riff too. So that might have been a second guitar track. I could be wrong, and he's not playing there. And it's just that Roger's bass and John's Hammond are so heavy that it sounds like there's a guitar there. That's very possible. But that's what I'm hearing. So here's something interesting to think about. We are currently 38 seconds into the song, and we've already had a quick intro, a verse, and a chorus. 38 seconds in. And that's a lot to happen in such a short period of time. And great playing, great performances. I really don't need to say that probably, but it's pretty amazing how fast this song is moving, considering how little time has passed. So it's really difficult to say, because this could be considered the chorus based on the placement. But lyrically, the chorus would be the one that has the title repeated in it a couple of times, or even, just once. So where the pre-chorus is what the chorus should be. And then there's this, which is kind of a post-chorus, because it's not quite the verse yet. It's really weird. And I guess you could look at it either way, saying, well, even though they mentioned the song, that's actually the pre-chorus and this is the chorus, but the first one doesn't change. That gets repeated. This changes because the next time we hit it, then it's going to be different lyrics. So that also does happen in the chorus. So it's really, it could really be looked at either way. I've always felt that the lines, "You're a smooth dancer and it's all right," I've always felt that that was the chorus. And then this is kind of a post-chorus, which is just a weird thing in and of itself. But placement-wise, the "You're a Smooth Dancer" should be where the pre-chorus is, but lyrically it feels more like a chorus. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Sway, don't waste your
a pretty progressive riff, I feel like, and they're playing so tight together. Considering how the album was recorded and all that, I think the sound of it, the cohesiveness, is actually pretty incredible. And I still think I'm hearing two guitar tracks. I wanted to kind of look at that again while we were listening to this verse and that. Definitely feel like I'm hearing two guitar tracks there. Another chorus, again, the same, but I love that part where they come out of it, because that really sounds kind of like something maybe Genesis would have come up with. It's got that technicality to it, but I really like it. And then this next part here, I love the enunciation. This is my favorite part of the song. The way that Ian sings these words, I think it's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I just love Ian's delivery on those words. And obviously, this is the point of the song where I feel like it's kind of a plea. At first, he's kind of calling the situation out. And this part, it's kind of like, I want us to go back to the way things were. But if you don't appreciate me, at some point, I'm going to have enough and I'm going to leave. And certainly it wasn't long before Ian wrote his resignation letter. So I don't know if it was conscious or not, or if he was even thinking about this within himself, but it definitely feels like it had to have been related to, the situation at the time, whether he meant it to or not. But yeah, I love that delivery. And then of course, the band just on fire is so tight. I love these little bits are so progressive. I mean, we're only 2 minutes and 8 seconds into the song. And, we're about to get into the solo section, but it's pretty amazing how much ground we've covered, how much they've crammed into this little spot. I'm kind of baffled by that. I don't know if the vocals had been written before the solo was overdubbed in there. And I say overdubbed because I'm hearing John play with Richie and Roger the backing track to the solo. I'm sure I'm hearing the Hammond organ in there. So I don't know if the lyrics were written or if John knew what the song was going to be about. But man, I feel he is taking that just pent up stuff that Ian's got inside him that he's trying to let out through this song. I feel like he feels it too. And he's letting that out in this solo because it's a very intense, powerful, passionate solo. And maybe it's just me putting that together after the fact. That's very possible that they might have been completely separate from each other. But yeah, I'm definitely getting that vibe. And it's a killer solo from John, who's really doing a lot of work on this album. It's interesting. I'm not really hearing a lot of differences from the first verse to this section here. Whereas normally we would get that build that I've talked about so many times, like they're really laid back on the first one and it builds and builds throughout, by the time they get to the final verse, it's, there's a lot more going on. But this song, I mean, it's just so explosive and I guess a little bit more straightforward where they just came out of the gate on fire and just kept that through the whole song. And, it's a different approach. They can't do a build on every single song. Otherwise, everything becomes predictable. It's a pretty short song. It's only 4 minutes and 12 seconds. So much is crammed into that time. But I just noticed that. And I think that's pretty interesting. Also, God, just how heavy this sounds. Just amazingly heavy. We do get the addition of a piano here, which is pretty nice. Being that he's playing in the higher registers, it's cutting through that, thick bottom end and distortion that we're getting from the rest of the instruments. So that's pretty nice, and that's going to play out. Also, I feel like Ian's stepping it up a little bit in this last part. As far as pitch goes, a little more passion in it, which, I wouldn't have thought you could really squeeze out considering how hard-edged he comes in at the beginning. But man, if somebody's going to find a way, it would be Ian. And that's why that piano came in and was so important. Great, great ending. Also, love that amount of analog tape hiss that we were hearing in there. Kind of don't really notice it until the end when it stands a little bit more on its own when everything else is fading out. But definitely cool. Roger did such a great job on these remasters. I can't say that enough. But yeah, great song. I love the ending of it. It's one that, has a definitive ending. And instead of doing a fade out, which is good because I think for that ending that we had, that, Baby You Can Rock and Roll, for that to just kind of go on without there being some other elements, like maybe some little flashes from Richie or, something, I think it would have been a bit much, but, or a bit not enough. Maybe just like too repetitive, I should say. Other than that, yeah, I don't know what else I could say. It's just a great song, killer rock and roll, aggressive from beginning to end. And just before you know it, it's over. And it's a song that, from the first time I've heard it, I've always appreciated it. But I just love going back to that one section after the second chorus, where I'm calling it an after chorus, where he says, I think you're crazy, you're two-time in ways they don't bother me. Now, just that delivery of that and the element of emotion he's putting into those lines there and the ones that come after it, I think are pretty amazing. And like I said, when you think of the song in terms of what happened historically after the album was done, I think it brings on a much bigger and more poignant meaning. But either way, great song, one that I absolutely love from this album. And a lot of people, I guess, they're kind of back and forth on whether they like this album or they don't. And some people love it, some people hate it. I think there's a certain expectation after maybe the success of Machine Head to do another album that sounded like Machine Head. But if you think about it, we've been through, take away the first three albums because that was very experimental, very different time in music. Take from the time that they established themselves as a rock act, right? So from Deep Purple and rock sounded a lot different from Fireball, which sounded a lot different from Machine Head, which sounds a lot different from Who Do We Think We Are? So I don't get that argument myself because everything was very uniquely stamped and had a unique personality for each album. I will say the production is quite a bit different on this one. The whole thing just has a different feel with, especially the way that I feel like it's really about to clip and we've got that compressor just squashing it down. And that's not an issue with the Roger Glover remix. That goes back to the original vinyl. When I put that on and I listen to it, I'm hearing exactly the same thing. That's something I've always noticed. And I don't know if they were trying to sort of, create a brick wall limiting feel before that was a thing. If they were saying, let's really make this album sound big and huge and hard. I honestly have no idea. I've never seen any production notes from Martin Birch or read anything about the production of the album. I can only go by what I'm hearing as an audio engineer in these headphones. So anyway, what's most important is how the song makes me feel. This one, despite the subject matter, it actually just makes me very happy. It pumps me up. It's just got so much energy and edge to it. I think it's a great song, and it's one that I have happily listened to many, many times, and I'm sure I will listen happily many, many more times. How many more times? That's Led Zeppelin. Anyway, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you for joining us today. Happy Monday. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Cheers. Thanks for listening to Deep Purple Smoke on the Podcast, a tour of the entire Deep Purple studio recordings. Please remember to give the show a rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. Leave a comment and tell your friends. I also have a Patreon set up if you'd like to support the show. You can also write to me at smokeonthepodcast@gmail.com. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and thanks for listening.